everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a fill in as well as extending her nails by using forms. So I haven't done this a lot. I've only done it once on her and then once on another girl. So this is just a way to make your nails longer without having to get a full set. I'm not sure why she just didn't want to get a full set, but she was like, hey, can you make my nails longer? So I'm like, sure. But anyways, I am using forms. I think I've done a video before where I showed you guys how to sculpt a nail. So it's pretty much the same thing except for we already have a nail to start with. So I'm just adding more acrylic at the tip of the nail. As you can see, I'm just doing like a little, what is like 2 or 3 lines longer. The little lines that you see on the form are actually like a guide for whatever size you want. So I'm just making them a little bit longer as well as a little bit wider. She liked her nails like a tapered shape. So they were getting a little too narrow for her, so she did ask me to make them a little bit wider as well. So whenever you're doing this, you do want to make sure that you look at your nail from different angles, which is really important for this set, because if not, your tip is not going to blend in. Alrighty, so once again, you grab your bead, and this is the same way as if you were doing a regular set, but you place it down at the very tip, and then you pat it down and you brush it towards the top of the nail, like going towards the cuticle area. You brush it up, and then you want to make sure that you're pushing in that acrylic. That way you're shaping your nail as you go. So remember, just keep adding to that tip. Look at it from different angles because you want to make sure that you get rid of that indention that's going to be there from the other tip, or from the tip that's already there. You want to make it blend really good. You don't want there to be a lump there. If you do this, you will see what I'm talking about. But you want it to just be nice and smooth and really even. So like I said, look at it from different angles, and I cannot stress that enough because I promise you I had a hard time with that. You have to make sure that it goes or not that it goes, but that it's really straight and even. And then the rest is just a regular feel. We're going to be brushing that down towards the tip like always, and then just add acrylic as you need it. This process does take a little bit longer, but like I said, she wanted them a little bit longer and wider without having to get a full set because she hasn't had this set for a very long time. So once again, you place your bead right at the tip of the nail. You make sure you pat it into place. If you just sit it there and your bead is too wet like mine, it is going to start running down towards the side. So you do have to keep pushing it up and just shaping it into whatever shape that you want, whether that's coffin, square, stiletto, whatever. And also you want to make sure that you pinch the nails. That way they're not just all the way flat across. You want them to have that C curve. And like I said, just keep adding acrylic because you want to make sure that the nail is nice and even all the way through, and then the rest is just a regular feel. Alrighty, so of course we're gonna do the same thing to all the nails. Remember, it's the same steps. You're just placing the bead at the tip, brushing it to the back, and then you do a regular fill. Same technique. You just have to practice to perfect your craft, and that's with everything. So make sure you practice a lot. You're not gonna get it right, you know, the first try. It is gonna take a while, but I really, like I said, I actually don't do these much. I don't even sculpt nails like that. I always use tips, but sometimes I have, you know, a request or two, so you know, I have to do what I have to do. And I do have a video on how to apply forms and how to sculpt nails, which I did a while back, or really not too long ago. So if you haven't seen it already and you are interested in sculpting nails, I'll leave that down in the description. But like I said, I always use tips. I know there's a lot of people that learn how to do nails with just forms, but I learned how to do nails with tips, so that's just what I stuck with. But like I said, whatever works for you is fine. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Just because I do it this way doesn't mean that you have to do it this way. Alrighty, so I'm also going to be showing you how to apply the forms. So they come with a little gold circle right there in the middle, and then you just wiggle the form around to make it have like a C curve, and then you just slide it under their natural nail. Make sure that it's not lopsided or anything, because if not, your acrylic will look lopsided. So once again, you literally just take the little circle off the top of the form, and then you just slide the form under their nail, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, so it's not really much to it. Alrighty, so after the forms are on, we're going to go ahead and apply the acrylic. So same thing that we've been doing. We apply the acrylic on the tip of the nail. We brush it up towards the cuticle area, or just in that direction. And then you just keep adding until you get a nice and even nail. And after that, we just fill in the rest of the nail closer to the cuticle area. Remember to clean around that cuticle area really good. You don't want to get acrylic on the skin, because if not, once it dries, it's really impossible to take it off. Or if you can, most likely you're gonna have to, or not have to, but you're gonna cut somebody, because you just are not supposed to be that close to the skin. So yeah, just be careful when you're applying your acrylic, and just clean up really good. And yeah. Alrighty, so now we're going to go ahead and take the forms off once the acrylic is dry. So to do this, we're literally just taking it off. It's basically like a sticker, so we're just taking them off. And then after that, we're going to be using a 100-100 nail file to reshape the nails. She does want a tapered shape, which is like an in-between coffin and squared. So yeah, we're going to be using that 100-100 nail file. And as you can see, I'm using my new dust collector, which I do have a review on. And honestly, I'm absolutely loving it. It is collecting a lot more dust than my old ones were, and I just have no complaints about it. And while I'm shaping, I'm also going to be making sure that I go back and measure the nails against each other. And then sad news, and it actually made me pretty mad because y'all, this process is long and I won't say hard, but it's just long. It takes a lot more. So she actually wanted to cut them down after I did everything, like after I filed them, after I shaped them. And I wasn't mad at her. I was just irritated, I guess, because they just look so pretty. That's why they look so pretty long. But I understand she was like, you know, they're a little bit too long, and with her job, you know, she knew that they weren't gonna let her have them as long. So it's really not, you know, her fault. But anyways, like I said, we are gonna have to cut them down, but for now I am using my fine drill bit. As you guys know, I only use 3 drill bits, and one of them is this fine drill bit, which I use to file around the cuticle area. And just the rest of the nail, you want to make sure that you're not using anything too coarse, because you don't want to just take away a lot of acrylic. You want to just smooth out the acrylic on the nail. And as you can see, I'm also using a file because, like I said, you want the nail to be nice and even. And with us doing the acrylic at the very tip of the nail, a lot of the time you're still able to see where the 2 nails met, or like where the new tip meets and then where the old tip meets, if that makes sense. So I had to just go back with the hand file and even it out really good. But other than that, I'm just going in with my fine drill bit. Remember, I just focus on that cuticle area really good, because if not, you will get lifting. You don't want to have any little gaps in between the acrylic and your natural nail, because any water that gets under there will cause your nail to lift, and then you'll have green spots under your nail, and they're not pretty. So make sure that you seal that area really good, and I cannot stress that enough. Alrighty, and this next step is really important. So whenever I'm doing the acrylic or applying the new acrylic on the tip, a lot of the time it runs under the nail. So you have to go back with that same fine drill bit and just even it out underneath the nail, because like I said, a lot of the time the acrylic runs under the nail. So you have to go back and file it off. And this is only when I'm doing, you know, stuff like this, as far as like adding more length to the nails. Other than that, I wouldn't do this, you know, with a new set. And this is the sad part. I'm having to go back and cut them, and you could actually tell where her old nail used to be, which was the natural nail tips, and then the new tips actually look a little bit more clear. So once again, we're cutting them because she felt like they were still a little bit too long, or they were just a little too long because of her job. Then after that, we're just gonna have to go back and reshape the nail again. And for that, I'm using my 100 nail file. Then same thing for the other hand, we're gonna reshape them, and then we're gonna go back and file the acrylic really good. Once again, I am using a fine drill bit. You don't want to use anything coarser, or is that a word? Anything more coarse, like you don't want to use a coarse drill bit or a medium drill bit. You want to make sure that you use a fine drill bit because you just want to smooth it out. You don't want to just take away a lot of acrylic. So like I said earlier, I only use 3 drill bits, which is this one, my fine drill bit. I use a coarse drill bit, which I use to remove gel polish from acrylic nails, and then I also use my sanding band. Those are the only 3 that I use. Alrighty, so now we're just gonna go in with a buffer and just buff the nails to a smooth finish. So whenever you're doing this, like I said, you want to make sure you buff them really good. You want to get rid of any bumps or lumps or scratches left on the nail, because if you leave anything on the nail, any little scratch, any little bump, you will be able to see that through your polish. I actually had quite a few people messaging me asking me how do I get a really smooth looking, you know, polish application, and a lot of it has to do, or really everything has to do with how smooth your nail is when you're buffing and when you're filing. So make sure you get all that done before you even apply your polish, because like I said, you will be able to see that through the polish. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to go back and dust the nails off and wipe them off with an alcohol wipe. And this is going to be it for this video. Like I said, this was how to do a fill as well as add length to nails without having to do a full set. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at GetNailed32. And I'll see you guys next time.